Okay guys, so we looked at H and K in the previous video and the previous investigation. Now, again, I hope you did the investigation first and tried to graph it yourself before watching this video. So if you haven't done that, go do it. It's much more helpful. But here we go. I just want to sort of sum up what happens with A. So we're going to graph the following set of equations in Desmos and sketch your graphs on the axis. So if you did this, you would have noticed that this is what our x squared looked like. 2x, the 2x squared would have looked like this. And the 3x squared probably did something like this. Now notice that the sides of the parabola start to get kind of skinnier or come closer together. So what's actually happening is what happens as A gets bigger. You could say the graph becomes, you might have been thinking skinnier. But what's actually happening is that it is vertically stretched. Therefore, making it look like it is steeper or skinnier. So the bigger the A value, it gets more stretched or skinnier or closer to the y-axis, however you want to say it. If you move down, what happens when the number gets smaller? So again, I'm going to draw, this is our regular one, our x squared. 0.3, you would have noticed that it does this, and 0.5 would have been like this. So what happens as A gets smaller is that the graph becomes wider. Or in this case, they would say it is vertically compressed. Okay, so the smaller it is, the more compressed it is, or the more wider it looks. So to summarize, if A is greater than 1, then the parabola is vertically stretched. And if A is less than 1, then the parabola is vertically compressed. So moving over to the second page, you'll notice that in this investigation we have a negative sign in front of our x squared. So if you graphed it, you would have noticed that it did this. And then the -2 graphed like this, same shape, but skinnier. And then the -3x squared did the same thing. Okay, so notice that as A gets bigger negatively, it's still getting skinnier, or it's vertically stretched. But in this case, because of that negative sign, it is now reflected in the x-axis, which basically just means that it's been flipped over. So instead of being a nice smile when it was positive, now it is like a frown when it's negative. And the same thing happens with these ones, is that yes, we have the negative x squared, and then the negative 3 and the negative 5. It's vertically compressed again. But also, because it's negative, it's reflected in the x-axis. So we get that frown shape again. Instead of our positive smile, we get our negative frown. So to sum it up, if A is negative, then the parabola is reflected in the x-axis.